Aaron is with us from Seattle, Washington. And Aaron, you were on the show the other day. And the way this works is Kelly puts the calls up in an order and they're color coded. And I just screwed it up and I went to the wrong color. And that meant I got out of order. And then you had to go to work.
Yeah, that's right.
Because evidently making money or whatever is more important than being on this show, which is ridiculous. But whatever, Aaron. No, man, I'm so sorry, brother. I screwed up, dude. I'm sorry.
No, that's all good. It was more that driving to work, I entered some roaming areas. So yeah.
Do not roam and be on this show. It's just not worth you paying for this stuff for sure. Yeah. This is a free transaction. Absolutely, man. Well, hey, how can I help, dude? Good to talk to you.
Thanks for taking my call, Dr. Delony. I really appreciate it. I am having some trouble navigating how to choose my wife and honor my mother. Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So
seems like you can do both of those. What am I missing?
Sorry. Sorry, one second. About 3 years ago, my father passed away from a rare degenerative brain disease. And,
oh man, sorry.
We all had seasons of caring for him, but my mom really took care of him until the end. And after that, my wife and I made a real conscious effort to be there for her, to have her come out to visit, and fast forward to today, and my mom, she really wears a lot of that neediness on her sleeve, and it just feels like nothing can ever be enough, and it can be really abrasive, especially for my wife who isn't used to personality quirks and whatnot. And so the trouble comes when I find myself defending my mom's intentions over my wife's, or advocating for her, and my wife has felt really hurt by the way that I've handled this relationship, and I don't know how to do those two things well.
Dude, thanks for trusting me with that. Is your wife right? Like, just being honest, just two guys. Is your wife right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, she's yeah.
Have you told her you're right and I'm sorry, and I don't know what to do?
Yes.
Okay.
And she's asked me to talk to people.
Okay. So backing up to your mom, she lost her husband, she lost her co-pilot, and sounds like it was a long, slow burn, which is a really painful way to see somebody go. And in the meantime, a lot of people rallied around her. Is that right?
No, not so much. I feel like with the long, slow burns, people don't know how, like, how long do I bring this up for? They just don't know how to be around uncomfortable situations where you're, where the other person's in diapers and the other person's bedridden, and so no, I didn't feel like a lot of people rallied around. In the heat of that situation, there's one or two that stick around, and that they're a good friend. But
yeah. So fast forward a couple of years. This is several years ago. When you say you got to apologize for, she's not being, she's not pleasant. She's got, anytime a son says, my mom's got personality quirks, that means mom's not being cool. And you're trying to find a nice, respectable way to say, like, my mom's really hard to be around. So when you say she's got quirks, she's tough, you have to apologize and explain. What does that mean? Give me some examples.
Yeah, so it's mostly in moments where my wife and my mother don't get along, and it really does seem like personality clashes where my mom is actually a really kind of cheery, in your face person, kind of loud, and her and my wife just don't get along. And so when it comes to things like how often should she visit, or how long, or where should she stay, my wife is, she draws these pretty heavy boundaries. It's not just personality differences. It's, my wife, my wife has drawn these boundaries, and she feels like my mom continues to cross them.
But this doesn't sound like grief issues. It's one common misconception is people who are grieving deeply can be jerks too, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That doesn't. I thought that's what this call was. That doesn't sound like that. That sounds like your mom wants to come visit and hang out, and your wife doesn't like your mom, and so she says, "Mom can't stay here. I don't want mom around." Is that more the issue?
Yeah. I think I was equating the grief with neediness. And we have the monopoly on grandchildren right now. And so she always wants to come and visit the grandkids. And
so why doesn't your wife like your mom? Because she's cheery? I see. So I thought this call was, I thought you were calling to say my mom is constantly calling us and crying, and you don't care about me. And why do you love her over me? And you just abandoned me, and I'm still grieving. Like, that doesn't sound like the case. It sounds like mom just is lonely, and she wants to come hang out with grandkids. Even if she's not lonely, she just wants to come see her grandkids, wants to come see you guys. Mm-hmm. And your wife doesn't like her. Why doesn't she like her?
Yeah. So for a couple of years, that was the case, that my wife really didn't feel like she liked my mom. She had said that, and she's recently had a change of heart, and she kind of recognized that my mom isn't necessarily the problem, but it's when there are relational issues, when there are boundaries crossed, because I have been quick to defend my mom, my wife doesn't feel like she can be totally transparent with me. She doesn't feel like she can bring to me, oh, your mom did this really annoying thing with the kids, and this thing I really didn't like, or she fed them this thing, and so she doesn't feel like she can.
Aaron, your mom's not the problem. You and your wife are having some challenges, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mom has become a cool, easy outside target for your wife because she doesn't know how to deal with you.
Yeah. Well, I feel it's, me.
What is it, man? There's something bigger that you're not telling me. Like, what is the relational fracture between you and your wife? You got little kids, you're exhausted, you're not showing up, your wife has changed. Like, what is it? There's something bigger than mom.
Yeah, I've kind of felt like they were a bit unrelated. I just felt like it's kind of this, my tendency to defend my mom, and
it's not, man. Your mom has become a way that your wife can try to talk to you without attacking you. Mm-hmm. And so that's sounds like it's your wife trying to get your attention without coming after you. Do you take feedback well? Or do you shut down? Are you a shut down guy?
I think I've become a shut down guy.
Okay. If your wife gets pissed at you, do you go into neutral? Do you fight back? Like, what's your response there?
I go into neutral.
Okay. So your wife knows I can't talk to you. I can't come at you. I can't have a healthy fight with you. I can't have conflict with you so we can work through it because you go into neutral. And so I'm going to go after mom. Yeah. And there probably is some real hurt, whether it's justified or not, right? You lost your dad, and that's hard. How long have y'all been married?
5 years.
Yeah, man. So learning how someone you love grieves is always messy. It's always messy. My wife and I had to deal with that too. She lost a really close family member a couple years after we got married. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I grieved differently. I thought she was grieving too hard. I didn't know what I know now. And so we had to learn how each other grieves, and there was some pain associated with that. She thought I was insensitive, and she was right, and I thought she was. So we had to figure that out. You had the misfortune, the heartbreak, and the challenge of you got married, and then a couple years in, your dad's body began to shut down on him, and then he passed away, and y'all are still figuring out marriage, figuring out young kids, and now you're figuring out how to grieve. And by the way, my mom's grieving too, so you're in the middle of this thing, right? So that's something that every young couple has to work out. That's part of it. But there's something bigger here. Whether you haven't dealt with your dad, whether you haven't dealt with, I don't think I like my wife because she was mean to me when I was hurting, whatever that is, y'all have got some major relational fractures that I'm worried about. And then your poor mom is just what's coming out with her grandkids, and she's become the scapegoat here. So let me ask you this. Do you love your wife?
I do.
Do you like her? And there's a difference there.
Yeah. I feel like 90% of the time it's wonderful, and then we hit these ruts, and for a month or so we don't like each other.
Are you when you go into neutral, let me ask it this way, are you violent with your silence?
Yes.
Do you become a very heavy presence in your house?
Yeah, I do.
And you'd never hit her or scream at her, but you'll just slowly drown the house in that. My wife calls it Sunday afternoon dad, but just that hulking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's me. Yeah.
So don't do that, man. Don't drown your wife in silence. And y'all are in desperate need, and I'm telling you this from personal experience, man. I did this for 10 years, 15 years. I got so self-righteous. I would never scream. I don't yell. I don't smash stuff. I don't fill in the blank. I would never be abusive. I don't raise my voice. But dude, I could just be violent with silence and avoidance. And whatever, then fine. And I left my wife out there on an island screaming and yelling and waving flags saying, will you help me? Will you talk to me? Nope, cool, man, whatever, dude. You know what I mean? So here's what y'all are in desperate need of. How old are your little kids?
We've got 3 and 3 years.
Good gosh, dude. Yes, of course. So just back up for a second. The last 5 years, by the way, if you ever call somebody, ask for help, lead with that, by the way. You've got...
That I have 3 kids in 3 years?
Yes. In a 5-year-old marriage. And by the way, dad slowly died in this process. And then my mom slowly grieved, drowned with it. Drowned. She drowned with him and then stuck her hand up. And I was the guy to... You guys have had a lot in 5 years. A lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all are exhausted. You're fried out. Y'all used to just go be silly and reckless. And I bet you used to be fun, is my guess. I bet you were a blast.
I was a blast for sure.
And your wife remembers that guy.
Yeah.
And are you all deep and thoughtful? And you're like, oh, what about this? And you got thoughts on Bitcoin and stuff. Is that you?
Surprisingly accurate.
I knew it. And I bet your wife, see, look, that's the guy she married. And here's the thing. That's the guy you are. And you've heard me say this 100 times. I'm going to say it 1,000 times more until they take the show off the air. But listen, y'all got to get away. And you got to just look your wife in the eye and say, I have sucked and I'm sorry. Now, to my defense, dad died. We got 3 kids. I love you. But this has been chaos. And I haven't done this right. And we cannot go back and edit yesterday. All we can do is hold this pen and start writing new sentences for tomorrow. And it's going to start with excavating the site. You've heard my Twin Towers analogy. You cannot take... What's happening is you're waiting for things to get back to the way they used to be, and she's waiting for things to get back to the way they used to be, and you can't because there is no going back. You got 3 kids under 3. Y'all are on the annual sex plan, and every time you do it, you have a kid. Right?
It's a little better than that, but yes.
It's not. It's just America. They're fine. They get it too. They're all there too. But listen, y'all have to get away and look at each other and say, I am still in. And I've got a lot of growing to do. I've got a lot of apologizing to do. I've got a lot of saying I'm sorry and I need to learn some new skills. And she does too.
Mm-hmm.
The mom isn't the issue. Y'all are exhausted and fried and cooked. You cannot take all that metal and all that glass and all of the smoke and dust and rebuild the Twin Towers. You can't. You got to excavate the whole site, get a new architect, get new engineers, dream big, and then rebuild something new. And it's going to suck, Aaron. It's going to be hard. But here's the deal. Right now sucks and it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So choose the hard, choose the difficult path that is fun and romantic and has sex and laughs a lot and listens to music and your stupid theories on Bitcoin and whatever. Go back to that or create something new. Don't go back. Create something new to that. Dance in your living room, man. Decide that you're going to love this woman. And then there's going to be moments when your mom wants to come visit. And then you need to talk to your wife about, hey, mom needs to see your grandkids. That's a thing that's going to happen. I turn into an idiot. Help me be a better husband when my mom is here. What do you need from me? And I guarantee you she's got a list. That's different than, well, mom, this and how can I honor you when my mom is here? And then you're going to go tell your mom that. And your mom is going to think you're the greatest husband ever. Wow. And my wife sends emails to our family. Hey, here's the schedule. Here's who's sleeping where. And that helps everybody stay there. And we love it, right? But it's just negotiating and learning and talking to each other. And I will be honest with you, brother, your marriage is on the ropes. These are tough, tough seasons. So this is SOS time. The alarms are going off. You step into the gap here, man. Start with I'm sorry. Stop with I've blown it. Start with we're going to rebuild this thing. Dude, I'm so excited for what this is going to turn into. I want you to call me back after you have this conversation with her. You're going to take her out. We're going to do a half-day retreat, you and her.
Hey, can I chime in with something?
Yeah.
What if there are legit boundary issues with mom that are being crossed as well?
Aaron, this is James. So if there are legit boundary issues, you have to have the boundary conversation with your spouse. A great question, James. You got to have the boundary conversation with your spouse outside of all this other stuff. So a part of I'm all in, I haven't been doing my end right, and she's going to say I haven't either, and we're going to clean up the way we talk to each other, clean up the way our marriage looks like, then we're going to have a true boundary conversation. So the way I like to think about that is you can't build fence on lava, on moving rock. You've got to let that stuff be settled. And then you can say, here is our boundaries. And then you have to communicate those boundaries to mom, right? And sometimes that boundary might be, hey, mom, we have a house that's small. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And we have 3 kids under 3 that all need to sleep. They all need to have a solid routine, plus me and my wife, plus. We need you to stay in a hotel. We're going to pay for the first night. You can stay as long as you want. We want you here at 8 a.m. to come play, but here's our nap times. We don't budge on these. We do not feed our kid these things. I'm asking you as your son to honor that. Oh, honey, they can have Twinkies. Not in my house, right? And there comes a moment when if mom crosses those boundaries, that's a whole separate phone call. It's a whole separate conversation. And there may be a moment when you say, you can't be on the kids because we've asked you and you're not honoring our boundaries. I don't think that's the case here. But yeah, it's a great question, James. But I don't want people building boundaries because what happens is you end up building boundaries against your spouse to punish your spouse, not because of a mom issue, right? Great question, man. Look at that question in a question. This is like a Russian doll episode here. I love it.
Yeah, I just reminded me of one of those two things can be true at the same time.
That's exactly right.
Situations, yeah.
But you got to make sure your relationship is healthy first and then start building boundaries, right? You got to make sure your ground is stable before you start putting fences up, right? Hey, thank you so much for that call, Aaron. Call me back after your half-day retreat with your wife. I got to know how it goes. My gut tells me it's going to go great. And maybe I'll just take a half day. Y'all meet for 2 hours, and then y'all just go take a nap for a couple of 3 hours. That would be awesome.